12,000 years of galactic history had taught the Council one simple truth. Power belonged to those who had earned it through millennia of evolution and conquest. Humanity, with their fragile bodies and short lifespans, had earned nothing. Dr. Samuel Okonkwo stood on the petitioner's platform, a position deliberately designed to make visitors feel small. Above him, 47 species looked down from their elevated seats. The chamber was massive, built from living crystal that hummed with ancient energy. Representatives of empires that had existed before Earth's dinosaurs watched him with expressions ranging from boredom to open contempt. High Arbiter Thessarin, an insectoid creature with a carapace that shimmered like oil on water, reviewed the data on his holographic display. His mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. The human petition for full council membership, Thessarin announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. And an offer of military assistance against the approaching threat. Samuel kept his posture straight. He had rehearsed this moment for months. Behind him, the weight of 30 billion human souls pressed against his spine. Honored Council, he began, humanity formally requests recognition as full members of the galactic community. We also offer our complete military support against the devouring swarm. Our analysts believe the threat is more serious than current projections suggest. Laughter erupted from the Karathi section. Ambassador Dorval, a massive reptilian with scales the color of dried blood, rose from his seat. His species had conquered 300 star systems before humans had discovered fire. Military support? Dorval's voice dripped with mockery. From humans, more laughter rippled through the chamber. The Vrel delegation, aquatic beings in their mobility tanks, bubbled with amusement. Even a normally stoic Thessari seemed to be suppressing smiles. Dorval descended from his seat, his heavy footsteps echoing as he approached the central platform. He circled Samuel like a predator examining prey. "Let us review your qualifications," Dorval said, pulling up a holographic file. "Average lifespan, 80 years. We live for 600. Physical strength, laughable. Your bones break if you fall from your own height. Galactic presence, 14 colony worlds." He paused for effect. 14. The Karathi Empire has 14,000. Samuel said nothing. His heart rate remained steady. "Your species has existed for what? 250,000 years." Dorval continued. "My people had interstellar travel when yours was still learning to walk upright. And you want to offer us military assistance?" The chamber erupted in laughter again. Several representatives were wiping tears from their various optical organs. "What could you possibly contribute?" Dorval leaned close, his hot breath washing over Samuel's face. "Go home, little deathworlder. Guard your patch of nothing. Let the real civilizations handle the real threats." Thessarin clicked his mandibles. "Does the human representative have anything to add before we dismiss this petition?" Samuel looked up at the council. 47 species. Thousands of years of accumulated arrogance. They had never bothered to actually study humanity. They had glanced at outdated files and decided they knew everything they needed to know. "I have a question," Samuel said calmly. "Are you absolutely certain you do not want our help?" Dorval snorted. "The answer is no. It has always been no. It will always be no. Humanity has nothing we need or want." "I understand," Samuel said. He reached for the communication device at his belt. "I had to ask. For the record." He pressed a single button and spoke 3 words that no one in the chamber paid attention to. "Light the beacons." Thessarin waved a limb dismissively. "This petition is denied. The human representative may leave." Samuel bowed slightly. "Thank you for your time, Honored Council. I suspect we will speak again soon." He turned and walked toward the exit. Behind him, the laughter continued. Dorval was already telling jokes about human weakness. The other representatives were sharing their own stories of encounters with a pathetic young species from the Deathworld called Earth. None of them noticed Samuel pause at the doorway. None of them saw the slight smile that crossed his face. In the cold darkness between stars, far from any sensor station, something stirred. A single light blinked on in the void, then another, then 100 more. Across the galaxy, in regions of space that the Council had marked as empty, dead, or unimportant, signals were being received. Orders that had been waiting for 60 years were finally being activated. On a hidden station buried inside an asteroid, Admiral Priya Sharma read the message on her screen. 3 words that would change galactic history. Light the beacons. She turned to her communications officer. Signal all fleet commands. Whisper protocol is now active. Begin coordinated emergence in 72 hours. The officer's eyes widened. All of them, Admiral? Every single one. In shipyards that had never appeared on any map, engines began to warm. In colonies that officially did not exist, soldiers checked their weapons. In command centers hidden in the dark spaces between stars, coordinates were being uploaded into navigation systems. 500,000 warships prepared to announce humanity's true presence to a galaxy that had laughed at them. The Council had made their decision. Now they would live with the consequences. Samuel Okonkwo walked through the corridors of Sovereign Station, passing aliens who ignored him completely. He was just another human, after all. Beneath notice, beneath concern, he smiled and kept walking. In 3 days, no one in the galaxy would ever ignore humanity again. Ambassador Dorval's private celebration was in its 3rd hour when the first alarms began to sound. He had invited a dozen council representatives to his quarters aboard Sovereign Station. They were drinking expensive wines from across the galaxy, still laughing about the humans' ridiculous petition. Dorval was in the middle of imitating Samuel Okonkwo's facial expression when the lights flickered. "What was that?" asked Warden Speaker Nalis, her aquatic form rippling inside her mobility tank. Before anyone could answer, the station's emergency channel crackled to life. Every screen in the room switched to the same image, a sensor display showing the space near the neutral zone. At first, there was nothing unusual. A small human diplomatic vessel sat alone in the void. Standard. Harmless. Exactly what the Council expected from humanity. Then the display began to change. Energy signatures appeared behind the courier's ship. 1 at first, then 10, then 100. The sensor operator's voice came through the speakers, trembling. We are detecting FDL emergent signatures. Multiple contacts. I repeat, multiple contacts." Dorval set down his wine glass. "How many?" "Still counting, Ambassador. The number is still rising." On the display, the dots kept appearing. They filled the screen like stars being born. The sensor system struggled to keep up, the count climbing with impossible speed. 1,000, 5,000, 20,000. "That cannot be right," Nalis said. "Their entire fleet is supposed to be 14 ships." The count passed 50,000 and showed no signs of stopping. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were unfolding. A Karathi patrol cruiser near the border was the first military vessel to witness the emergence. Its captain, a veteran of 3 wars, had seen many things in his 200 years of service. He had never seen anything like this. The human courier ship had hailed them with a simple message: "Please do not be alarmed. We mean you no harm." Then space itself had torn open. Ships poured through the ruptures in reality. Human ships, but not the primitive vessels the Council had studied. These were warships, massive, sleek, and bristling with weapons that the captain did not recognize. His tactical officer turned to him with terror in her yellow eyes. "Sir, I am reading over 12,000 vessels in our immediate area alone, and more are still arriving." The captain's scales went pale. "Contact Sovereign Station. Emergency priority." Back on the station, High Arbiter Thessarin had abandoned his private chambers and rushed to the Central Command Center. The room was in chaos. Officers from every Council species were shouting over each other, trying to make sense of the data flooding their screens. "They are appearing everywhere," someone reported. "The Mirati Belt, the Thessar Corridor, the Core World's approach. Every strategic position in Council space has human ships emerging nearby." Thessarin's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. "How is this possible? Where do they come from?" Warden Speaker Nalis pulled up analysis data. "I'm accessing old intelligence reports. There were rumors. Unexplained energy signatures in dead systems. Missing asteroid field that should have been there. We dismiss them as sensor errors. What are you saying? I am saying that the humans have been building this fleet for decades, right under our sensory appendages. And we never noticed because we never thought they were worth watching. The command center doors slid open. Dr. Samuel Okonkwo entered, but he was not alone this time. Beside him walked a human female in a military uniform covered with medals and insignia. Her gray-streaked dark hair was pulled back severely. Her eyes held the calm confidence of someone who had planned for this moment her entire career. Thesserin recognized her from intelligence files. Admiral Priya Sharma, commander of Earth's official defense force, a force that supposedly consisted of 14 patrol vessels. The irony was not lost on him. "High Arbiter," Samuel said pleasantly. "May I introduce Admiral Sharma?" She wished to speak with the council directly. "You," Thesserin breathed. "You planned this. The petition, the rejection, all of it." "The rejection was your choice," Admiral Sharma said. Her voice was quiet but carried across the silent room. "We simply prepared for the possibility." She touched a control on her wrist. A massive holographic display materialized in the center of the command room, showing the entire galaxy. Red dots covered it like a disease, marking human fleet positions. 523,847 vessels, Sharma said, currently deployed at strategic positions throughout Council space. Not attacking, not threatening, simply present. Dorval had followed the humans to the command center. His earlier arrogance had vanished completely. "This is an act of war." "No, Ambassador. This is an offer of alliance." Sharma turned to face the assembled council representatives. 3 months ago, you laughed at our petition. You called us weak, primitive, insignificant. You refused our help against the devouring swarm. She paused, letting the silence build. The swarm is still coming. It will reach your borders in less than 90 days. You can fight it alone with your proud fleets and your ancient traditions. Or you can accept the help you rejected. Thesserin found his voice. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Sharma smiled. It was not a cruel expression. It was tired, sad even. "The same thing we wanted 80 years ago when we first made contact. Respect, partnership, a seat at the table." She gestured at the display. "We built all of this hoping we would never need to use it. But you gave us no choice." The room was silent. Every representative stared at the human admiral, seeing their species for the first time. "So," Sharma continued, "shall we discuss terms? Or shall we wait for the swarm to decide the matter for us?" The council chamber had never been so quiet. Ambassador Dorval was the first to break the silence. He slammed his clawed fist against his console, cracking the crystal surface. "Impossible," he roared. "You violated every treaty. You deceived us for decades. This is grounds for immediate military response." Admiral Sharma watched his outburst without expression. When he finished, she spoke in the same calm tone she had maintained throughout. "With respect, Ambassador, what military response? Your combined fleets number approximately 60,000 vessels. We have deployed more than 8 times that number. And these are only the ships we chose to reveal." Silence fell again, even heavier than before. Thesserin leaned forward from his seat. "How?" "The intelligence reports. The inspections. We monitored your shipyards, your population, your technology. Everything indicated a minor species with limited capability." Samuel Okonkwo stepped forward. His role as diplomat was over. Now he would speak as something else entirely. "You monitored what we allowed you to see," he said. "The 14 colony worlds in your records? They exist. We made sure of that. We maintained them specifically so your inspectors would have something to find." He activated another display. It showed a map of human space, but vastly different from any council record. Hundreds of systems glowed with settlement markers. The truth is 847 worlds. Population, 340 billion humans. Not 28 billion, as your files suggest. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The numbers were beyond anything they had imagined possible. "The primitive FTL drives your analysts studied," Samuel continued. "Intentionally downgraded technology. We sent obsolete ships to any area where we knew we were being observed. Our actual propulsion systems are 3 generations more advanced. Warden Speaker Nahlis raised a tentacle. Why? Why this elaborate deception? Admiral Sharma answered, because we learned from observing your council. Species that appear weak are dismissed. Species that appear strong are seen as threats and destroyed. There was no safe middle ground. So we chose a third option. You hid, Thesserin said. We prepared, Sharma corrected. 60 years ago, after our first diplomatic mission was laughed out of this very chamber, our leaders made a decision. We called it Project Silent Thunder. We would build in secret, expand in secret, grow strong enough that when the moment came, no one could dismiss us again. A young Karathi soldier named Torvith sat in the visitors' gallery, watching everything unfold. He had been assigned to station security, a routine posting for a junior officer. Now he was witnessing history. He looked at his commanding officers. These were warriors who had conquered star systems, veterans of 100 campaigns, and they were afraid. He could see it in their rigid postures, their darting eyes. Torvith had never seen a Karathi afraid before. The Admiral was speaking again. We recruited scientists from minor species who shared our frustration with council politics. We established research stations in regions your maps marked as empty. We built shipyards inside asteroids that your sensors passed by without a second glance. You had help, Dorval demanded. From other species? The galaxy is full of beings who are tired of being ignored, Samuel said. We gave them a chance to matter. They gave us their knowledge and their loyalty. A holographic recording began to play. It showed a massive construction facility hidden inside a hollowed moon. Human workers moved alongside aliens of several unfamiliar species, assembling warships that dwarfed anything in the Council fleet. This facility has been operational for 40 years, Sharma said. It is one of 16. Another recording. A human colony world that existed on no council chart. Cities spread across continents. Orbital stations circled above. Children played in parks while ships launched from spaceports. We named this world New Horizon, established 52 years ago. Population, for billion. Recording after recording played. Hidden worlds. Secret stations. Training facilities where human soldiers prepared for a war they hoped would never come. Torvith watched the faces of council members change as each revelation landed. He saw arrogance crumble into disbelief. He saw contempt transform into fear. And slowly, in some eyes, he saw something else emerging. Respect. The final recording showed Admiral Sharma herself, decades younger, standing before a group of human military leaders. We will give them every chance, her younger self said. Every opportunity to see us as equals. But if they refuse, if they continue to treat humanity as beneath notice, we will be ready. Not for conquest, not for revenge, but to ensure our survival and our dignity. The recording ended. Present-day Sharma looked around the chamber. That speech was given 33 years ago. I have hoped every day since then that we would never need to use what we built. She paused. You made your choice when you laughed at Dr. Okonkwo. Now, we must all live with the consequences. Thesserin rose slowly from his seat. His ancient body seemed to have aged another century in the past hour. What happens now, he asked. You have the power to destroy us. Sharma shook her head. We have the power to protect you. There is a difference. She pointed toward the stars beyond the chamber's windows. The devouring swarm does not care about politics. It does not care about pride. It will consume every species in this galaxy without distinction. She stepped closer to the council seats. We did not build this fleet to conquer you. We built it to save you. The question is whether you are willing to be saved. The chamber fell silent once more. But this time, the silence felt different. It was not the silence of shock or fear. It was the silence of minds changing. Torvith watched Admiral Sharma standing alone before the most powerful beings in the galaxy. She had no guards, no weapons, just the truth. And somehow, that seemed to be enough. Thesserin had not slept in 40 hours. The High Arbiter sat in his private chambers, staring out at the stars. Somewhere beyond those distant lights, an enemy was approaching. And somewhere much closer, 500,000 human warships waited for his decision. The door chimed. He already knew who it was. Enter. Admiral Priya Sharma walked in alone. She had removed her formal military jacket, wearing only the simple gray uniform beneath. For the first time since her arrival, she looked tired. You requested this meeting, she said. I assumed you wanted privacy. I wanted honesty. Thesserin gestured to a seat across from him. Please. Sharma sat. For a long moment, neither spoke. I have been High Arbiter for 300 years, Thesserin finally said. In that time, I have negotiated with conquerors. I have faced extinction-level threats. I have watched species rise and fall. He clicked his mandibles. I have never felt as foolish as I do right now. Sharma said nothing. She waited. Why help us? The question burst from him. After everything, the insults, the dismissal, the decades of contempt, you could let the swarm weaken us and claim whatever remains. Why save species that mocked you? The Admiral was quiet for several seconds. When she spoke, her voice was soft. May I tell you about Earth? Thesserin nodded. My species spent most of its history trying to destroy itself. We fought wars over land, over resources, over ideas. We nearly poisoned our own world. We came within a hair of nuclear extinction more than once. She smiled sadly. Your intelligence reports were correct about one thing. We are violent. We are dangerous. We are everything you accused us of being. Then why should we trust you? Because we learned. Sharma leaned forward. Every disaster taught us something. Every war showed us what we could lose. Slowly, painfully, we began to understand that survival requires cooperation, that strength is not found in domination, but in connection. She reached in her pocket and pulled out a small photograph. It showed a young woman in a graduation gown, smiling brightly. My daughter. She was born on a colony world that does not appear on any of your maps. She grew up surrounded by humans who came from 100 different cultures, speaking 100 different languages. They found ways to live together, to work together, to build something new together. Thesserin studied the image. She looks happy. She is. And I want her to stay that way. Sharma put the photograph away. That is why we are here, High Arbiter. Not for power. Not for revenge. We want neighbors who are alive to talk to. We want a galaxy where my daughter's children can explore and discover and build relationships with beings like you. The insectoid leader was silent for a long time. We have been so blind, he finally whispered. You were afraid, Sharma said. You looked at us and saw everything your species fears. Short-lived, aggressive, unpredictable. You could not imagine that those same traits could produce anything good. She stood and walked to the window. On Earth, we have a saying. Every species that rises to the stars must answer one question. What kind of neighbor will you be? Will you conquer? Will you hide? Or will you extend your hand in friendship, even when you are strong enough to take what you want? Thesserin rose and joined her at the window. What answer did humanity choose? Sharma turned to face him. We chose friendship, even after you laughed at us. Even after you called us primitive. We still chose friendship. She extended her hand. The question is whether you are willing to accept it. The gesture was unfamiliar to Thesserin. He had read about it in cultural files. A human greeting. A sign of trust. Carefully, he reached out with one of his limbs and took her hand. We will fight together, he said. Then we will win together, she replied. And after that, we will build something better together. Across the galaxy, the alliance began to take shape. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka arrived at Joint Operations Command expecting hostility. She found curiosity instead. Aliens from a dozen species watched her with fascination as she took her post at the Coordination Center. A young Karathi officer named Torvith approached her station. You are human, he said. Last time I checked. She looked up at him. He was taller than her by a full meter, with scales that gleamed like emeralds. You are Karathi. I am. He seemed uncertain how to continue. I watched your admiral speak to the council. I have never seen anyone stand so calmly before so much power. Tanaka smiled. She has been practicing that speech for 30 years. Was she afraid? Probably. But she did not let it stop her. Torvith considered this. That is a very human thing, is it not? To be afraid, but act anyway. We call it courage, Tanaka said. I think your people have it too. You just have not needed to use it for a while. On a distant border world, Captain Diego Reyes led an emergency evacuation. Swarm scout organisms had been detected in the system. The colony needed to be cleared before the main force arrived. The local species were the Thessauri, small beings barely reaching Reyes's waist. They had been terrified when human ships appeared. Another species coming to exploit them, they assumed. Reyes removed his helmet and knelt down to speak with their leaders directly. His face was weathered, scarred from old battles. But his eyes were kind. "We're here to help," he said simply. "Please let us." The Thessauri elder studied him. Then, slowly, she nodded. Human soldiers moved through the settlement, carrying Thessauri children to safety. They worked alongside Karathi troops who had arrived minutes later. Former enemies became partners in a matter of hours. Back on Sovereign Station, Ambassador Dorval watched footage of the evacuation. He saw human soldiers protecting Karathi civilians on a border world. He saw species that had never worked together, now fighting side by side. He said nothing, but something in his expression had changed. The devouring swarm arrived at the Mirati belt like a living nightmare. Billions of organisms poured through space, blocking out entire star systems. They moved as one mind, one hunger, one purpose. For 10,000 years, they had consumed everything in their path. They had destroyed civilizations older than Earth itself. Today, they would face something new. Admiral Priya Sharma stood on the bridge of the Defiant Hope, watching the sensor displays fill with hostile contacts. Around her, officers from 6 different species worked at their stations. Human and Karathi, Vrel and Thessauri. Former enemies, now united against a common threat. All fleets report ready. Captain Diego Reyes announced from his position at Tactical. The Council forces have taken their assigned positions. Sharma nodded. This was the largest military operation in galactic history. 500,000 human ships, 60,000 Council vessels, all of them waiting for her command. "Open a channel to all ships," she said. The communication officer complied. Sharma's voice would reach millions of beings across thousands of vessels. "This is Admiral Sharma. 12,000 years ago, the Galactic Council was formed to protect civilization from threats like the one before us. Today, that protection becomes real." She paused. "Some of you have fought each other. Some of you were enemies just weeks ago. That ends now. Today, there's only one enemy. And today, we will show the swarm what happens when the galaxy stands together." She cut the channel and turned to Reyes. "Begin the attack." The combined fleet surged forward. The opening hours were brutal. The swarm adapted to every tactic, learned from every engagement. Council ships struggled to coordinate. Their systems had never been designed to work together. Then human engineers revealed their final secret: networking protocols that could link with any technology. Decades of studying Council ships in secret had paid off. Human vessels began connecting with Karathi battlecruisers, sharing targeting data in real time. Vrel carriers merged their sensor arrays with human destroyers. The effect was immediate. Combined firing solutions became possible. Coordinated strikes that would have been impossible hours earlier now devastated swarm formations. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka fought alongside Torvith when boarding organisms breached their station. The creatures were nightmares of chitin and teeth, evolved for one purpose: killing. Tanaka fired until her weapon overheated. A swarm organism lunged at her from the side. Torvitha's blade intercepted it, severing the creature in half. "Stay close," he growled. They fought back to back, human and Karathi, covering each other's weaknesses. When Tanaka took a hit to her arm, Torvith positioned himself to protect her wounded side. When Torvith was nearly overwhelmed, Tanaka grabbed a fallen weapon and cleared the corridor with precise shots. "Not bad for a short-lived species," Torvith said between breaths. "Not bad for a lizard," Tanaka replied. On the Defiant Hope, the situation was becoming desperate. Swarm organisms had breached the hull. Crew members fought them in the corridors while the ship continued firing at enemy targets. An officer rushed to Sharma's side. "Admiral, we need to evacuate the bridge. Security teams cannot hold them much longer." Sharma drew her sidearm. "My crew is still fighting. So am I." The creatures broke through the main door. Sharma fired without hesitation, dropping the first wave. Her bridge officers joined her, forming a defensive line around the command stations. For 10 terrible minutes they held. Sharma moved through the chaos with deadly calm, directing fire, coordinating defenses, never stopping. When her pistol ran empty, she grabbed another from a fallen officer and kept shooting. The breach was finally sealed when reinforcements arrived. Sharma's uniform was torn. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead. But she was still standing. "Status report," she demanded. "The combined fleet has achieved 40% destruction of swarm forces," Reyes reported. "But they are regenerating. We need to hit their central coordinator." The swarm was controlled by a massive organism at its center. A moon-sized brain that directed billions of lesser creatures. Destroy it, and the swarm would lose cohesion. Can we reach it? Not with conventional tactics. Their defense screen is too thick. Sharma studied the tactical display. Then she smiled. "Tell the Karathi and Vrel flagships to follow my lead. We are going to try something unconventional." 3 flagships broke from formation and drove directly toward the swarm coordinator. Human, Karathi, and Vrel vessels flew in tight formation, their shields overlapping. The swarm threw everything at them. Billions of organisms converged on the attacking force. Ships were lost. Crews sacrificed themselves to maintain the formation. But they pushed through. At the last moment, all 3 flagships fired their main weapons simultaneously. Human plasma, Karathi particle beams, Vrel graviton pulses. The combined strike hit the coordinator with the force of a small star. The moon-sized organism shattered. Across the battlefield, swarm creatures faltered. Their coordination collapsed. They began attacking each other, confused and leaderless. The combined fleet moved in for the kill. When it was over, the survivors gathered on emergency channels. Human voices mixed with alien languages. Victory cheers in 100 dialects. A Karathi battle cry echoed across the fleet. Then a human voice joined it. Then a Vrel. Then all of them together. Admiral Sharma sat in her command chair, exhausted but alive. Around her, the bridge crew was celebrating. For the first time in galactic history, the Council had fought as one. And they had won. 6 months had changed everything. Sovereign Station looked different now. The Grand Chamber had been rebuilt after battle damage, but the architects had made deliberate changes. No more elevated seats for powerful species. No more petitioner platforms designed to humiliate visitors. The new design featured a single circular arrangement where every representative sat at the same level. Dr. Samuel Okonkwo stood at the entrance, adjusting his formal robes. Today was the day humanity had worked toward for 80 years. Full membership in the Galactic Council. "Nervous?" Admiral Sharma asked, joining him. "Terrified," he admitted, "but I have learned to function while terrified." She smiled. A very human skill. They entered together. The ceremony was unlike anything the Council had seen before. Representatives from 47 species rose to greet them, not with suspicion or contempt, but with genuine respect. The applause began before they reached their seats and continued for several minutes. High Arbiter Thessarin called the assembly to order. He looked healthier than he had during the war, his carapace gleaming with renewed vigor. "We gather today to correct a mistake 12,000 years in the making," he announced. "When this council was formed, we believed that strength was measured in age and tradition. We believed that young species had nothing to offer. We believed that power belonged only to those who had conquered." He turned to face the human delegation. "We were wrong." The chamber was silent. Thessarin continued. "Humanity taught us something that we had forgotten. Strength is not about standing above others. It is about standing beside them. It is not about what you can take, but what you can give." He gestured to a ceremonial display, showing the new council charter. It had been written by representatives of all member species, including humans. From this day forward, the Galactic Council operates on new principles: equal voices, equal votes, equal respect. And at the center of these changes, we welcome our newest full members, the United Earth Confederation. The applause erupted again, even louder than before. Samuel stepped forward to the speaker's position. He had prepared remarks, but looking at the faces around him, he set them aside. 8 decades ago, a human ship made first contact with your civilization, he said. We came with hope. We came with curiosity. We came wanting nothing more than friendship. And you turned us away. The chamber grew quiet. I do not say this to blame you. We might have done the same in your position. Fear of the unknown is not unique to any species. He paused. But I want you to understand something. Even after you rejected us, we never stopped wanting to be your friends. We built our fleet hoping we would never use it. We hid our strength because we wanted to earn your respect, not demand it. He looked around the chamber, meeting alien eyes of every shape and color. Today, that hope is finally realized. Not because we force you to accept us, but because we showed you who we truly are. A species that fights alongside its allies. A species that protects those who cannot protect themselves. A species that believes every civilization deserves a chance to reach for the stars. In the audience, Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka sat beside Torvith. They had become close friends during the war. Now they were planning the first joint training program between human and Karathi forces. Your leader speaks well, Torvith said quietly. He has been waiting his whole life to give this speech, Tanaka replied. The Karathi studied her. What happens now? Between our peoples? Tanaka smiled. Now we figure out how to live together. It will not be easy. There will be misunderstandings, arguments, probably some fights, but we will work through them. How can you be so certain? Because that is what humans do. We mess up. We learn. We try again. She looked at him. And now we have friends to help us when we stumble. Ambassador Dorval approached Admiral Sharma after the ceremony. The reptilian moved stiffly, clearly uncomfortable. Admiral, may I speak with you? Sharma turned. Her expression was neutral. Ambassador, he struggled with the words. I was wrong about your people. Everything I said in that chamber 6 months ago. Every insult. Every mockery. It was the speech of a fool. It was, Sharma agreed. Dorval flinched, but continued. I have watched footage of your soldiers protecting Karathi civilians. I have read reports of human engineers working beside our technicians to rebuild damaged stations. I have seen what your species truly is. And what is that? Better than us. The words seemed to cause him physical pain. Better than I ever imagined possible. Sharma was quiet for a moment. Then she extended her hand. We have all been wrong about each other, Ambassador. That is why we keep trying to do better. Dorval looked at the offer hand. Slowly, he reached out and took it. Captain Diego Reyes did not attend the ceremony. He had another duty to perform. The memorial at Mirati Belt floated in the starfield where the great battle had been fought. It was an enormous structure, a wall of glowing names stretching for kilometers. Every species had lost warriors in the fight. Every name was listed together, regardless of origin. Reyes stood before the wall in dress uniform, reading the names silently. Human names beside Karathi names. Vrel beside Thessari. All of them equal in death, as they had been in battle. He found a section for his own crew. 17 names. 17 empty chairs that would never be filled again. Thank you, he whispered. All of you. Back on Sovereign Station, the celebrations continued. Species that had never spoken to each other now shared drinks and stories. Old enemies discovered common interests. New friendships formed in the spaces between. Admiral Sharma found a quiet observation deck and watched the stars. Below her, ships from every species flew in formation. A patrol of mixed vessels passed by. Human, Karathi, Vrel, Thessari, and others flying together. Samuel joined her. We did it, he said. After all these years. She nodded. The question is what we do with it. Build something better. That was always the plan. Sharma smiled. Then let us get started. In the old records, Historians would write that humanity came to the stars seeking respect. But the truth was simpler than that. They came seeking family, and against all odds, among the cold light of distant suns, that is exactly what they found.